Here we are back again. That music just always gets me in. Gets me into this. Another installment of the Unwatched Pile. Dust it off, people. Dust it off. Now, I'm not saying you should start watching one of them movies that you should be watching right now. Right now, you should be watching this live on YouTube. With me, of course, as always, is Andrew Cabral, the flagship leader of Chasing Labels right now. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Yeah, we are back here once again. This is the Unwatched Pile number 22, if the top of my page is correct, which I hope it is.
I do too. I usually look before. I never know for sure, and then I go in and I'm like, yeah,
there
22 does come after 21.
You know what?
The
month goes by quick. The month goes by quick here on Chasing Labels, and we're back for another Unwatched Pile. This time, no special theme going on, no special nothing. We're just doing it the old-fashioned way.
I used to. I was for a second. I was like Irish movies, because St.
Patrick's Day.
But I was like, nah, not really.
I will say this: in terms of Chasing Labels lore, I guess there could have been a theme. Not really, but it is the 4-year anniversary, I think, of our first episode here on Chasing Label this month. I think it was around this time 4 years ago in 2021 that we did our first episode of Chasing Labels. If I went back and looked at the archive correctly. So that's a nice little anniversary we've got cooking over here on Chasing Labels land.
Jesus Christ, dude! We'll get more into this later, but you and time is just
it's me and Christopher Nolan. We've got that thing.
No, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it's you and Richard Linklater, because I think you're a lot more closer to. We'll get back to that later. But yes, of course, as always, we like to bring along another cinephile who's struggling with the unwatched pile syndrome, whatever you want to call it. I don't know. I'll come up with something clever later. But they also need to dust off some unwatched films and return, I believe, for the third time.
Yes, one of our you could say favorites here on Chasing Labels.
Of course,
someone who's a longtime supporter, one of our first vocal supporters ever. Talk about anniversaries. It's been so long. One of our favorites, and Celeste Cabra.
Yes.
Yo, what's good? Yeah, I've been with y'all, riding with y'all for a minute.
Yeah,
big fan of the program, as it were.
Thank you.
I think this is the third time. I'm trying to remember what I watched for my first one.
I know.
I did
once again,
Black Narcissist the last time.
I know that. Yes, and as always, I keep saying I need to go back through the episodes and write them out. Say, hey, this is what the features were, double features were for at least half of these.
It was that Hammer vampire movie. I don't even remember the name, but it was that one.
Yes.
Kiss of the Vampire?
Hey, you got it. I think it was that one.
There's so many variations of the vampire and Hammer, and it's like you could just mix up a bunch of names and you'll hit one.
Yeah.
Well,
I think it was that one.
Celeste, I think last time we talked, you're in a hiatus, and and I believe now you're starting to ramp it back up again. Tell us where you are now with the channel.
I mean, I've been uploading something almost every day, so I've definitely been keeping it going. We're back in full swing. I'm pretty consistent with the shorts. I'm gonna be pretty consistent with the live streams. This is gonna be my second stream this week, which is pretty cool. But the bread and butter main channel videos are just so much work. It's hard to I still haven't quite figured out how to get that in my regular rotation, but you start where you can, you get what you can done. And I have a list a mile long of videos I want to do. It's just a matter of, doing them.
Trust me, motivation is something that's hard to just, make out of thin air,
just keep it going. And it's, to be honest, you reach a point when you're doing all this to the point where I'll do anything I want when I can, basically. Like for example, we'll do Unwatched Pile, we'll do a short, do whatever, whenever. It seems like the internet doesn't seem to care too much about that, as long as it's consistent. That seems to be it.
Honestly, it all comes down to if you like doing it. I mean, if you like doing it, that's all that really you need to focus on. And anything else that comes along with it, making some nice friends online, things like that. I mean, that's a bonus. And really, this is all work. I mean, people don't see it. Like anything, people don't see the work put into stuff. So you have to like doing it, or just don't do it.
Right.
Yeah,
Very
I
true.
mean, this is like technically my second job at this point, so yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it gets that way, and that's I hate to beat old drum, but that's part of why I had to take a step back from chasing labels. It got to a point where I was like, I'm not adding anything. I'm not able to put the time in to make this something that's worth me being here for anymore. Like on the regular, like I can't do what Andrew does, which is watch tons of film and give you guys something that's worth hearing, unless it's just something I've seen 1,000 times, but it's, you gotta pick the things and pick the directions that and I got something cooking, it's coming, but it's more of a project that takes a little bit more behind the scenes effort. So I have to slow roll it, but there will be a teaser soon. There will be a teaser.
I can confirm that project is in the works, and it's a really cool idea, and it's a really cool thing. So y'all should be stoked about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I actually put it out there a while ago, but then it got like put on the back burner, and now I'm bringing it back again. And
it comes and goes.
It's moving now, so we're gonna get this done. But thank you, Celeste. I did bring Celeste in, and she knows about it. So, I'm excited to do. Hopefully that will be launching full on in the fall. So, but more about that later. Celeste. As always, we like to start with our guest with their unwatched film. I should say real quick, we got, of course, Josephine in here saying hey to all of us.
Shout out.
Always a lot of recent reads and the recent watches. Let's see. Have I read any of these?
Oh,
no.
Wow, there's a lot of comments. Let me see. I was looking at the wrong tab, and so I thought we didn't have any comments. And I see all.
No,
of
we
these.
got tons of them. She's always got tons. But we will come back. I'm sure Josephine's going to have. Oh, you're asking about Addie. Here, ask her. She's right there making noises, trying to interrupt our stream. No, she's doing great. She's growing up so fast, and she's starting to, just won't shut up. She keeps talking a lot, and that's great. We love it. She said, "I love you." She said, "I love you, mommy," earlier for the first time.
Are you jealous?
Cute.
Yeah, so it was nice. Said it to me. She said, "I love you, mommy." I'm like,
I was asking if you were jealous.
No. Everything. She's always done everything for me before my wife. So
okay.
I'm glad she got a win.
Nice.
But all right, let's do this thing. All right. Please, Celeste, tell us, what is your unwatched pile pick?
Sure. Real quick, Josephine, the only film of your very extensive list that I've seen is Housekeeping. And that's a fun one. That's a wild movie.
Yes, that's I got I think Indicator put that out.
I've got well, actually I don't have it anymore, but I had the Indicator of that. Yeah.
You're one of them sellers.
No, I lost that one in the divorce, but what can you do?
What can you do? That's collateral damage.
It is what it is, Yeah, my pick for today is going to be Benny's Bathtub, this lovely release from our boys at DC, Deaf Crocodile, formerly of OCN, now of Diabolic DVD and Flying the Nest, fully fledged bird, as it were. The bird crocodile, mixing the metaphors here.
Well, but, birds land on crocodiles,
Yeah, okay, there you go. Yeah, it's got this lovely slip on it with the various friends and foes that befall our titular Benny throughout the 42-minute opus here. And you got this.
I'm jealous. You got a movie in this show that's under an hour. Wow.
I know, crazy, right? It's that might have been intentional. It's been a crazy week.
Where you can get it in.
Yeah. Yeah. Should I give my quick little spiel on it?
Tell us about it. I haven't seen it, but I know Andrew's seen it.
I have seen it, yes.
So tell us, what did you think about it?
Yeah, it feels like almost like a TV show pilot or something. Like it doesn't really. I mean, maybe it's just because of the length, but it feels pretty stitched together a little bit. Like it's definitely kind of lower budget looking. But it's like kind of like a weirdo. I felt like I was watching like kids programming, like very young kids programming, but with like cigarettes and drinking and topless mermaids and stuff. So like, you know, it's got a weird kind of mixture of vibes. And for the special features, there are 3 episodes of a children's television show that feel even more like that. And I watched the first one, and it's very much like, I don't know, like Oswald or something like that, you know, like that level of children's programming. The film is how do I even describe the plot? I watched it this morning and I'm trying to think how to even describe the plot of something like this. I mean, it's just this imaginative young man who finds a tadpole who speaks to him and takes him on an adventure in his bathtub deep under the sea, with they just kind of go, it's just like vignettes of meeting different people underwater that have different songs. It's also a musical, so that's fun.
Yeah.
And it's Danish, so it's in Danish, and maybe there's some cultural references and something is lost in translation, you know. Definitely the songs are not going to be as understood because you can't translate the rhymes and everything, you know. Yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I think it's probably no, I don't want to say that. It's not my favorite Deaf Crocodile release that I've seen, but it's still good.
Is there a more, because they've been putting out a lot of animated films. Is there another one of their animated films that you like more?
The Tune, for sure.
The Tune.
That's one of my favorite movies. Yeah, I love that movie so much. That's very different. I mean, I guess it is kind of, they both look like colored pencils. And I know that one is. I don't know about this one. You know, it's only 42 minutes, but they definitely tried their best to stack it with features to make it worth the price of admission. There's 2 or 3 commentaries on it, and then there's 3 episodes of the TV show and an interview on there too.
Yeah,
so that's cool. I think my favorite part of this movie is the sequence with the pirate skeletons. They're fun. I like them. Also, the octopus is good. I like the octopus. There's a crab that's a police officer. That's fun, right? I don't know. It's weird. I think it would actually, strangely. I know some people. I think when Craig was talking about this when it came out, he was saying that like this might not be super appropriate for kids, even though that's clearly what it's like for.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. Other than the fact that the guy's mom like smokes the whole time, and her friend like smokes the whole time, and you know there's topless mermaids, but it's not sexual. You know, it's just kind of, it is what it is. I would feel comfortable showing this to a child. Maybe that says something about me, but
I was gonna say, wait a second.
I don't think it's that bad.
No, well, I mean the thing is I mean kids, especially since it's animated too, like kids will see something and it won't compute, like you know, but because I mean I know that there's some things I've went back to watch that I know I watched as a kid and I'm like, I didn't see this, I don't remember this.
Yeah,
I mean even as early as SpongeBob, like there's things in some SpongeBob episodes where I'm like, huh.
Some naughty jokes in there.
Yeah, some innuendos that you don't catch when you're a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe the innuendos are in Danish, but I didn't catch any here, you know.
Right. And the
it's
movie
really
is
chaste.
also, if I remember correctly, it's from the early 70s, which is a much different time in animation, let alone Eastern European animation, you know, Danish animation, where they kind of like took more risks, and I guess there wasn't so much like an emphasis on children's programming as opposed to just making art, I guess, at that time. That would be my guess. Yeah, and I remember covering it for Chasing Labels and it being such a trip of a movie. I mean, I'm glad that it's 41 minutes long because I feel like it's so overstimulating that if that was an hour and a half, my brain would be fried by the end. Like, because
I don't know, man.
Trip.
No, you'd be fine. You'd be fine.
You go down. Yeah, of course I'd be fine. I think I'm just overemphasizing how just unhinged the animation is.
Yeah.
Because there's really no plot, as I'm sure Celeste can suggest. There's really no plot of, he just kind of goes, he's just having an imagination trip in his bathtub, which is interesting because it kind of harkens back to, like, I guess when you're a kid and you're just trying to like play make believe and just entertain yourself. You know, especially back during a time where I didn't have a lot.
Yeah,
You know?
well, I was about to say something, and I was like, I can't, because if I say it, it ends up being Celeste's pairing. I'm an asshole.
Oh, you're gonna bring up a movie?
Go
I was
ahead.
going to bring up a movie.
Go ahead.
Lego movie.
It's not that one.
Okay.
Interesting though.
But I mean, that's the movie. I mean, that you find out by the end that it's all in the kid's imagination.
Yeah, and it does harken back.
Spoiler.
Yeah, it does harken back to a time, when, Steven, I guess you and I are around the same age. So when we were younger, we didn't have so many, entertainment things around us to entertain ourselves. No iPads, no internet. I mean, we had video games, but the idea of like sitting and playing make believe with your toys is a little bit of a lost art sometimes.
Imagination.
Imagination
not
isn't
getting
quite what it used
used
to be.
as often as it used to get used. I think.
Right, and this movie kind of feels like it's trying to do that.
I feel like I'm like the micro generation right before the cutoff, where everybody had a phone growing up, because like we had like Game Boys and DSs and stuff, but like the ubiquity of like Wi-Fi and internet connection and that sort of thing. There was many summers where I was on my own, had to come up with something, and like there's traditional media like TV and stuff, but it was more like cable, and that's less like mainlining content or whatever. Like it's not quite as appealing, and you have to make it up.
It's less options really, because you watch what's on when it was on, and if it wasn't on, you didn't watch it. As opposed to now, where you can watch anything you want at any point. You know what I mean? When if you're a kid or if you're an adult, you can have access to anything at any point.
Convenience factor has made everybody so much more drawn to technology because of how convenient it is. So
very much so.
Yeah, but I've really not gotten a chance to delve into all the weird animation stuff that's coming out through a lot of these labels.
Deaf Crocodile does a lot of
doing a lot of them.
And they've got a lot of releases now, and I try to plug them, when I can during Chasing Labels, but it's sometimes tough to keep track of what's coming out when. Really, I know Felly Day is another one that just came out. That's
one I bought. Yeah, I need to watch it.
And that's based on a cat, which is really cute. Hence the title of the movie, I guess. But yeah, so that's interesting stuff they've got going on over at Deaf Crocodile. They've been around pretty much as long as Chasing Labels has been around. That's how many years they've been around.
So they're babies.
They're certified. They're Chasing Labels approved, I guess.
All right, calm down, Chasing Labels guy.
I feel like I gotta plug it all the time.
Yeah, I know, right? Calm down. We're on the channel now.
To be honest, that's the only way you can get people to listen to you, is if you keep bashing them over the head with.
It's in the background too.
Right.
Label. You can see labels. But all right. Well, we will come back around to Celeste to get pairing. But Andrew has got his Unwatched Pile pick. What you got?
Yes, I do. And I picked this up actually recently, so it's coming off of the Unwatched Pile faster than most things I buy. I usually take years.
It's not even.
It usually takes years.
It's not even gotten dusty yet.
Yeah, I know. I think
real quick though. I think I bought this Benny's Bathtub during the whichever Vinegar Syndrome sale it was, where they were liquidating all their Deaf Crocodile stuff. So I got this for $10.
It was either last year or the year before.
I think it was last May or whatever. I think it was the halfway last year. So almost a year this has been sitting on my shelf.
Nice.
That's pretty
good. At least you got it.
It's not too bad, honestly, compared to some other stuff.
I've got stuff in for like a dozen years that I haven't seen yet.
I was gonna say my pick tonight is got to be maybe like 8. It's close to 10, something like that. So
I started collecting in 2020, so that's as old as it gets for me. But there are things that I bought in 2020 that I haven't watched yet, so that's embarrassing. But
Same here. But for me, it's something I bought last year because it came out last year, and this is the John Sayles film City of Hope from 1991.
And Andrew's once again dipping back into John Sayles really quickly. I
love John Sayles.
I did
John Sayles one the last time I was on.
Did I?
Yeah, he did Lone Star.
I think he picked Lone Star the last one I was on. Mm-hmm.
Coincidentally, I still have it right next to me. That's how things work here. Where I put it aside, tell myself I'm going to put it on a shelf, and then it just stays here for who knows how long. But This time I did
Andrew,
pick
you should
another
do a
John Sayles.
collector's tour. You should do a collection tour. for the
I,
channel.
I, you know, I've been
told
thinking
them.
about that for years, but it's so unorganized right now that I'm almost embarrassed to show people.
Well, that would be motivation to do it. And
would be.
my collection tour is the second most popular video on my channel. So people like them. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do mine too, but I mean, I'm not embarrassed. Like, I don't care how unorganized, because mine's literally unorganized. Like, there is no, it's nothing. Like, there's no alphabetizing. There's nothing. It's just label. I have labels put together. That's it. And I just, I haven't decided on whether I should alphabetize them or not. It's just so much work. I have so many. I just don't see myself having enough time to dedicate to it. So I might just have to just say fuck it and just, if I'm going to do a collection video, I might as well just do it. It's going to take a while, but
yeah, it's going to be probably multiple.
I mean, how long did yours take, Celeste?
To like, how long is the video, or how long did it take?
How long
for me
is
to
the
make
video?
it?
Yeah.
Let me check. I want to say 20 minutes.
I was gonna say, did you just do it all in one fell swoop?
Yeah, I just did it straight through. I just basically showed people how it's organized and like went slowly enough so people can read the titles as I'm going. I did not read off every single one of them, but I was basically explaining my organization process and kind of showing the different. It's sorted by label more or less. So that's how I did it. But let me see.
Yeah, if I'm gonna do
27 minutes.
That's pretty good. Yeah. So if I'm gonna do it, I do kind of want to kind of go through everything, even though it's daunting. I kind of want to like say every title and like stop at a few. You know what I mean? Here and there. You know, because I think that if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. You know,
so many of them have like stories behind them. You know what I mean?
Sometimes they do. Yeah.
Yeah. When you've been collecting for so long, like some of these you can remember where you were, when you bought them, how you bought them, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just like
if
the
I was to
context
do that, like because like I know that like Mid-Level Media did one where he did. I mean, he had to do it in chunks, but he read off every single one, and like that.
Yeah, I was gonna say it might have to be a
series.
Yeah,
and I might have to do it live just to have the motivation to keep going, because I would just get bored like reading off titles. But if I have people to interact with,
you know what, that is a good idea. You know what? Yeah, it should be just live. You just do it like you just sit there and you go through the whole thing until you're done. You know, you just
that gives you motivation because you can't stop. One thing,
I mean, you can, but
yeah, you can, but you got that extra motivation to keep going because you know people are actively watching, as opposed to just shooting by yourself with no one watching. You can be you can cheat yourself basically. If you have motivation,
sorry, I got us on a tangent. This is feeling a little inside.
I know it's all right.
I'm gonna read.
And this don't happen very much on Unwatched Pile, so it's okay.
Right, very true. I mean,
tell us about City of Hope.
Yeah, so City of Hope is the 1991 John Sayles film. Like I said, last time I did John Sayles as well, which was Lone Star. Coincidentally, I'm probably going to reference this back again because both of these films are similar in the sense that they're both have large ensemble casts, and they're both films that have really astonishingly well put together screenplays. Like, I am kind of floored by what John Sayles is able to do, juggling so many different things at once, because I've seen other movies do these things. I've seen other movies have large ensemble casts, have multiple plot lines and storylines going on that weave into one another, that mesh into one another, and the movies just don't flow well. They fall apart. You know, there's an off balance when it comes to all the different moving parts in them, and the movies just kind of, you know, like I said, fall apart. But with John Sayles, I don't know what type of artistic magic he has. He keeps it all flowing. He keeps it all together. And this one here is a film that is set in, I think, a fictional, they don't really say where, but it's like a fictional town in New Jersey. And it's all about just this, pretty much this neighborhood and the different people that are in it and the different people that float, that kind of live in this neighborhood culturally, politically, when it comes to, you know, where they are in terms of economics in life and finances in life, opposed to like poor, people in tenement housing versus people who are, you know, rather wealthy, you know, kind of the movers and the shakers of this area. And in typical John Sayles fashion, he's going through a multitude of themes. He's going through political, cultural themes on a very basic human level, literally neighborhood level of what is affecting people's lives, and how like one decision affects other people and how their decisions affect other people, and kind of how all of this kind of snakes through this neighborhood. And the film is specifically dealing with so many different characters, but just some actors that are in it. Vincent Spano, who was in an earlier uh, John Sayles film, which is getting a Fun City Editions release. Is it Baby It's You or something like that, Steven? I can't remember the Fun City that's coming out in May.
Yeah. It's like Baby. I think it's Baby It's You.
Yeah, and that was like Vincent Spano's like one of his first roles, and now he reteamed with John Sayles years later to be in this one, and he plays like a young kid who the story kind of revolves around a bit, where he's got this father who's kind of connected with organized crime, but he's also connected with local politics. How those two things go hand in hand, and how his relationship with his father, and how his father, like I said, is connected, so he's able to getting certain things done in terms of his construction company, and how he's able to kind of skirt local politics and get things done. But his son is kind of like this 20-something-year-old screw up, and his father has to cover for him all the time about certain things. But the son is also incredibly insecure and lost and doesn't know what to do. And then you've got another plot line, which is Joe Morton, who was in Brother from Another Planet, another John Sayles film, which there is a Blu-ray of it that came out last year. Don't buy it because it's just an upgrade. It's just like an up-converted DVD. It's not very good. Word through the grapevine is Brother from Another Planet's getting some type of deluxe edition sometime soon from someone. Don't know who.
Criterion was doing
I
it.
heard
Is the one out
Criterion
now
too.
just a studio release?
And it's not even like a reputable studio that put it out. So I would wait for that, but that movie is also really good. But Joe Morton, once again, kind of reteaming with John Sayles. He plays a local councilman who is trying to advocate for the African American community in this neighborhood. And he has to deal with that. And then what he's doing also connects with what the father that I just mentioned is because one of the tenement houses that he owns is at the center of like some political thing that's going on. So what I'm trying to get at is there's all of these interlocking character stuff going on in this movie, and John Sayles is just annihilating in terms of being able to keep it all connected. And what you get, like I said, is very deep, thought-provoking stuff going on in here that is very contemporary, even though this movie came out in like 1990, 1991. And it just goes to show you that these themes and these things that people are dealing with in everyday lives, like familial issues, like political issues on a local level, and specifically what we're dealing with now in terms of social services and things like that. All of these things are kind of thrust into this film and kind of shown how all this interlocks and interworks, and really well acted, really well directed. It's super low budget too. Like I felt like this movie was shot very much on a low budget, which I think is kind of where John Sayles did most of his work. This early 90s kind of indie world. So the movie's not going to look incredibly modern. It's going to look very indie of that time. But yeah, I really love this movie, and I'm becoming a giant fan of John Sayles, as we all can assume at this point. So this Blu-ray came out last year, and really under the radar. It's put out by Sony themselves, so it's not a boutique label. It's not anyone like that. I'm surprised Sony wasn't able to distribute this out to anyone, or nobody picked up the licensing for this, because it feels like it would be something. Sony's never been shy about handing out their licenses to other companies. They've made deals
Maybe
with.
they just like it and wanted to put it out themselves.
Perhaps. It does have a commentary by John Sayles. That is it in terms of special features. And it looks like, I think it's a pressed disc. It looks like it may have been like a burn on demand, but I don't believe it is. I think it's an actual pressed disc. So that's nice. But I know that probably a lot of John Sayles fans don't know that this came out last year. So there's not much left that hasn't seen a disc release so far from his work. I know 8 Men Out got an olive Blu-ray release many years ago, and it's now gotten an MGM made on demand release from recent times. I think that's the movie he did before this. It's about the Black Sox fixing the World
Scandal.
Series in 1919. Think that that's what that movie is about. But anywho, I thoroughly really like this film a lot. If you haven't seen John Sayles' work, definitely highly recommend it. I think Brother from Another Planet was my intro to his stuff, and I feel like that's like an appropriate place to jump in my opinion. And then you work your way through like Lone Star and then City of Hope and Matawan and stuff.
Mate
Or
One
Mate
is
One.
the one that I started with, and it's still one of my favorite movies. And then I'm trying to think what else I've seen from him. Piranha, he wrote that
I
one.
forgot
I've
that he
seen
wrote that.
It looks like
Still-
City of Hope is indeed pressed, according to Blu-ray.com.
Usually when you go to Blu-ray.com, for anyone listening, they'll tell you if it's a BDR or if it's a
They'll tell you what the storage capacity. It says BD50 on this one, so it'll tell you if it's a 25 or a 50.
That's how you can usually tell. And then it'll say Blu-ray disc. It'll say BD50. If it's burned on demand, it'll say BDR or something. I think that's usually how I do. Because usually people can tell by looking at the back of the disc, and I can never figure out what I'm supposed to be looking at.
I think if it's silver, it's pressed, and if it's bronze, it's burned.
Oh, see, that's why Celeste is here. It's that encyclopedic mind of yours.
Nerdy talk.
I have to say, incredibly impressed by your cranium of knowledge.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Although I'm just saying from what I've heard, because I don't know that I have any burned discs. Like I don't have anything to compare it to. That's just what I've heard, and I've seen pictures, and I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty bronze. I don't know.
Yeah, same thing here. There was other questions like, but I'm a Cheerleader was another one where it was supposed to be burn on demand, but then people got theirs, and then it ended up being actual press disc.
I think they did one pressing of it, and the rest were BDRs, if I remember correctly, because I pre-ordered that, and mine was pressed. Okay, I was happy about that.
Yeah, mine's at the bottom of this pile, so I'm hesitant to take it all off. What? Can't do that during the show. You should see me during Chasing Labels when I'm moving stuff, Steven. You would hate it.
Oh, I would, because I'm sure there was a lot of dead air in there somewhere.
Well, you got to do stuff. Yeah, here's my.
No, you don't have to do stuff. You could just do the show and not try to look through your collection while you're on the air.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy person.
I know.
Blu-ray.com says that one was pressed, so I don't know.
Okay,
we'll just believe Blu-ray.com.
Oh, I believe Celeste wholeheartedly. Like, if there's any person I put my faith in, it's Celeste de la Cabra.
Okay, calm down. Calm down.
Oh, I can't. I can't.
I need more adherence to my to my wisdom.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got to get into John Sayles. I'm behind. I'm embarrassed. You're ahead of me. Like,
would you say that he John sold you on this one?
Oh, Jesus. All right. We will move on after that. I love that.
Transition as good as any.
That was a good one. So I decided, and I'm embarrassed by this one because I've had this, like I said, in my collection for a while, and I'm a huge fan of this filmmaker, Richard Linklater. And so this was one that's been on the back burner for some reason. Maybe I knew enough about it, and I was just a little intimidated to get into it because I knew it was a little bit of a harder watch than some of his other films, and that is his film Waking Life. This was his first foray into that, what he's now done a couple times, which is using that rotoscoping animation style. He later would do it with Scanner Darkly, and then did it with the most recent film. What was that? The one with the astronauts, Apollo 8.5 or something like that? 10.5, 12.5, whatever the number is.
It was the one that's only on
It's only on Netflix.
It's only on Netflix.
Yeah. Well, he uses that animation style in them films, but this was the first time he had used it. And this is an interesting time in his career because he, of course, was, Slacker was an indie hit, and then he got a chance to do Dazed and Confused, which was a hit. So then he was starting to push it, and then he'd had a couple of things that didn't quite land with people, and then he decided to do this movie, which is a very much an experimental piece here, because especially if this is very much spiritually connected to Slacker, I think. very much a movie with not really much of a narrative, but a lot of conversations, which is something I think Richard Linklater's known for. His Before trilogy, Slacker, these movies where it's a lot of people walking and talking. Before we get into this, and Celeste, you a fan of Richard Linklater?
I'm trying to think how many of his films I've seen. He did Boyhood, right?
Yes.
I saw that in the theater and really liked it. That might be the only one.
School of Rock.
Oh yeah, that's a favorite. I love that movie. Yeah.
What about did you see the spiritual sequel to Dazed and Confused, Everybody Wants Some?
Mm-mm.
No, that's a good one. Also did, of course,
all
the Before movies.
No, those are a huge blind spot.
Yeah,
I really need to see that. Maybe I'll do a box set special for the next installment. Just do all of them.
We should all do trilogies that we haven't seen.
That wouldn't make sense because I don't own it, but I could just do it anyway. Why not?
Just do it. We'll just do it. Yeah. But okay. Well, I mean, yeah, Linklater. I mean, did you see the Hitman? Did you watch that? That just came out last year. Glenn Powell. He's pretends to be.
I'm aware of it. I didn't see it.
It was also on Netflix. Yeah. But I know Andrew's a big fan.
Oh yeah, I was. Huh.
And he's seen Waking Life.
I have seen Waking Life. I've watched it early on in my Richard Linklater fandom.
Yeah.
Like, I go through these phases where if I start getting into a director, I have to watch all of their stuff like right away. Like I can't. I
tried that with Ingmar Bergman and it didn't work. I was like, nah.
I did that with Ingmar Bergman,
daunting.
And it was daunting.
I was like, I'm going to get into him. I'm going to get in Bergman.
I remember being up at like 3-4 a.m. watching through a glass darkly, and being just transfixed at what the heck I was watching.
Do you want to hear a Bergman story real quick?
Sure.
Yes.
A friend of mine hosted a Bergman marathon where they were showing 8-10 of his films in a day, something like that. And I was planning on, watching at least half of them or something like that.
Yeah.
And they watched a few before I got there, and I got there, and then we started with Wild Strawberries, and they offered me a mushroom candy, and I was like, sure, that'll be fine. And then at the end of it, I was like, this is a lot. I need to go for a walk and then go home. So I watched that on shrooms and then left. So I did not marathon it.
Hey, at least you watched the good one, a really good one.
It is really good.
Yeah,
it was really good.
Coincidentally, that's how John Waters used to watch Bergman films while under the influence. He's mentioned that
one way to do it
so many times. He's like, yeah, that's what they used to do as kids. Talk about a time where there's not much else to do other than drop acid and watch Bergman films. Growing up in the 60s.
Speaking of dropping acid, I think that's one way you could describe Waking Life. So Waking Life, like I said, is a film that is very, very experimental. It's a lot of just contemplative thoughts that Richard Linklater has been thinking about for a while. And then also kind of about a dream he had. He had a very lucid dream at one point in his life. And this is kind of him kind of trying to find a way to recreate that. And he said that through the special features, he'd said that he'd came across this animation style and thought that it was the best representation of what his dream was like, visually. And so this film is very much just vignettes of different scenarios and different conversations that apparently Linklater had in his own dreams or something.
It's so lucid.
Yeah.
It's so lucid, and there's no plot line throughout Waking Life.
No.
You're just watching a series of just kind of running thoughts. It reminds me a lot of like As I Lay Dying, or it reminds me just a lot of, to be honest, a lot of philosophy courses I've taken.
It's like the film version of jazz or something. To be honest, it's just all over the place.
It's like a film version of a philosophy course done at a speed run through the prism of Richard Linklater's mind, because you're just going from different, like Steven said, vignette to vignette, but they're all different. Some are shorter or longer than others. The animation style is trippy as hell, but some are trying to be deeply philosophical, and it reminds me a lot of like a spiritual sequel to something like Slacker, because Slacker is structured in that way where there is no real structure through. You're just going from moment to moment, beat to beat. You know, you're jumping into people's conversations midway, and you're just trying to figure out what the heck is going on. And it's such a trip, literally. And I remember, Steven, did you catch the part in Waking Life where there's a before sequence of Jesse and Celine?
I mean, they're not the characters, from what I understand. It's not they're not playing the characters,
but it is.
But it is the two actors
and Ethan Hawke.
You do get an Ethan Hawke and Julie Delpy cameo as one of the little vignettes, and they have their little conversation in bed. I mean, Linklater pops up in this movie a couple times.
Well, he's in himself. the first. I think the opening of Slacker is Richard Linklater. He gets off a plane and gets into a cab and starts talking about philosophy to this cabbie, and he's just like, what if he talks about this kind of basic philosophical idea of like, if you go right instead of left or left instead of right, and then how that would trajectory change, just a timeline. Change life, and that's a philosophy 101 type of thing. You know what I mean?
But that's the movie. Like I said, essentially is just different vignette, different conversations about existential things. I mean, that's really. I mean, and this is why I say, if there's anybody that Andrew loves, and he it's like he's connected to as a filmmaker, it's Richard Linklater, because he spends a lot of time talking about time. He loves existentialness.
I do love existentialism.
Yeah, he loves it. He brings it up as much as he can.
I think I bring it up every talk about Bergman. Yeah. It's all religious like inner turmoil and existentialism. That's Bergman in a contained.
Kind of like a philosophy course.
Yeah, but, this movie is definitely a philosophy course, and it's done with this rotoscope style. And I'll say this. This is a pretty highly I'm surprised at how highly rated this movie is. I don't know if that's because I know this word gets used a lot, but pretentious. This movie is a very pretentious movie. And I'm not saying this to be negative, but it's like you have to understand philosophy and kind of like be on its wavelength to kind of enjoy it, I think. And it's definitely a movie I think you need to probably watch a couple times to really get on its wavelength. The first time watching it, I was like, some of this is interesting, but some of this is tedious, and some of this is kind of like there is no connective tissue, so it just feels like you're just having to hang with it and ride the wave. And sometimes the wave is interesting, and sometimes the wave is boring. And some would say that the animation keeps it interesting, but I would say sometimes the animation is too much. For me personally, sometimes I think, though kind of interesting, sometimes it's a little bit distracting because like a lot of the backgrounds are always moving. It's very kind of super operatic, like that. It's like to the point of like unnecessary. Like where was the artistry in this? Did this just all happen by accident? Maybe that's what he was going for. I don't know. But it's like, it didn't seem like sometimes that the animation had a lot of thought put into it. It was just like an accident splatter against the screen. And this is what it looked like. You know what I mean? But I can see why people would be super interested in this movie. And I'm a fan of the filmmaker, and he's at least trying to, trying something that I don't think there's not many movies that are like this movie.
Very true.
If anything, it's original.
I think the edition that you have is a Region B Arrow release, right? Because there is no Region A Blu-ray release of Waking Life.
I was checking. That one's out of print. And there's no other release. But one is coming, so maybe you should sell that while it's worth something.
While it's hot.
Yeah, while it's hot. I mean, I'm surprised that movie has not gotten a Region A release yet from somebody. I mean,
it sounds like a Criterion. That sounds like a Criterion to me.
Yeah, it does.
Or just Arrow redoing it. I don't know if that
I guess they could do a 4K that would be, region
I'm curious
free.
Who owns the Region A rights. I wonder if it's
like I said.
I know I have the DVD.
Yeah.
And the DVD has been, I think it's still available. It's been available for a while. It's been available, I think, since it came out back in 2001. So 20th Century Fox has the DVD.
Oh, well, there you go.
So there you go.
So Disney, please.
Goodness,
Put out
yeah.
Waking Life.
No wonder why it's now.
They love their animated movies. Well, hey, you know what? They could do I was about to something. They could do the live action version of this movie. They love to do their live action remakes.
That's right.
Funny enough, this actually is filmed in live action, but then they just animate over it. So that's what's fun about it. But yeah, I appreciate the movie more than I liked it. I think it's a solid for me, like a solid 3-star out of 5. Like it's got compelling elements to it, and I'm just such a fan that I give them just a little bit more bonus for the. But like I said, maybe another watch, I'll be more on its wavelength. But for now, my first watch, I have to say that I'm a little lukewarm on it because I think that it's just a little bit so out there, and the animation's maybe just a little too abrasive for me personally to really have enjoyed it as much as I wanted to.
That's funny because I feel very similarly about my pick, like kind of.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's why
you know,
yeah. Like
I
you
maybe
said,
liked mine a little bit more. Like I went with a light 7 out of 10 on this one, but like you know, I'm trying to see if it's streaming anywhere. I don't see that it is. Yeah. I don't know. It looks cool. I'll have to check this out at some point.
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. It's definitely a heady movie. But all right. Well, now we're making our way back around. Celeste, I can't wait here what you're pairing with this animated, weird Under the Sea movie.
All right.
In a tub movie.
All right, hear me out. This was a bit of a tough one for me. I'm like, what other like bizarro, like foreign art house animated kids films do I have? And that's a small slice of anybody's collection, I would think, right? And so I thought maybe I'd go a little bit out of the box, but something that still catches the vibe, as it were. I'm looking at a 2-movie collection, and I think either of them would work. So take your pick. Maybe you could make it a triple. Why not? Okay. But I think either of the SpongeBob SquarePants movies would go well with this. I'm trying to think like surrealist adventures under the sea with anthropomorphic sea creatures and weird shit, non sequiturs, bizarre humor, some adult references as well. I think you got SpongeBob. We said it earlier. I was like,
yeah, I did. I messed it up. I mean, I still ruined it. See.
Well, I'm not the only one. The original SpongeBob movie is better. It's one of my favorite movies. It's great. But this one, SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water, it's not very good, but it's weird as fuck. And it might vibe better with Benny's Bathtub.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I love it because, I mean, like, I haven't seen your film, but the way you describe it, it's why I brought up SpongeBob. I was like, so many like weird adult things come out of SpongeBob that it's one of the last animated kids things that I think in mainstream that has leaked through that has some adult humor in there that is underlying. And but when we were growing up, it was pretty routine to see shows like Ren and Stimpy or Looney Tunes, any of these that had adult.
I talked about kind of 90s animation, 90s cartoons on Chasing Labels recently, and we talked about Ren and Stimpy, Rugrats, Nickelodeon stuff of the 90s was kind of truly different than what you saw before, what you've seen.
Oh, and now we know why, because they were all just perverts over there.
Yeah, it was wildly crazy.
Not a good time.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I can the stuff that was going on for the human shows, the live action shows. The people that were the animators had to have been just worse.
Well, notoriously,
behind the scenes,
I mean, we brought up Ren and Stimpy. Notoriously, the person behind Ren and Stimpy literally is, scum of the earth type of person.
I didn't know that. It's interesting.
I didn't know that either. But thanks for letting me know.
Yeah, it's really kind of wild. But what's interesting, Celeste bring. I was thinking of like, even like for Benny's Bathtub, like stuff like Studio Ghibli stuff gets very trippy. Even things like that. Coincidentally, recently, Celeste, coming back to you, don't ask me why. What your recent live stream, you mentioned Princess Mononoke, which is getting an IMAX release.
I love that movie
this week.
It's so fucking good.
Coincidentally, tonight it's playing in IMAX right now at my local IMAX. And
I saw Spirited Away for the first time in theaters, which was awesome.
That must have been quite incredible. But I was thinking of even something like Paprika. Paprika is just an absolute trip of
Yikes.
an animated film. That goes well with Benny's
Yikes.
Bathtub.
Sorry, I'm like,
It
I
is.
wanted to double check you about the Ren and Stimpy thing, and there's just a subheading on his Wikipedia called sexual abuse allegations, and it's like it gets worse and worse the more I skim through it. I'm
Yeah,
like,
it gets
rip,
real bad.
that's rough.
Yeah,
Pervs make the best art, apparently.
I mean, that's true. Just ask
Yeah,
John Waters.
some of them are. Yeah, John Waters. Yeah,
very true.
true. It is true.
Speaking of Looney Tunes, the new Looney Tunes movie fucking kicks ass. I kind of want to go see it.
I heard it
again.
was pretty
It's
good.
So
yeah.
good.
I've seen it, and I can concur with
It's
Celeste.
so good.
Coincidentally, Celeste, your short was the reason why I
Mhm.
wanted to see it, because
Hell
I'm
yeah.
like,
Then they're
if
doing their
Celeste's seen
job.
it, I gotta see it.
They're doing their job. I love that movie.
What's crazy is like so much to say about that. I mentioned a lot about that on Chasing Labels, where I'm like, I don't know what's going on at Warner Brothers when it comes to Looney Tunes, but like Looney Tunes has been like it's been their franchise for like a century. I don't know why they're kicking it to the curb as hard as they are when they can still make so much money from it. It's wild to me. But the new Looney Tunes is so much fun, and it's just like classic Porky Pig and Daffy Duck. Like it's so like basic Looney Tunes that it's so great. That's another like kind of lost art 2D animation that you don't see
so
now.
Nice. Yeah.
Similar to Benny's Bathtub, where it's just like taking that art form and just like pushing it as far as you can. That's what Looney Tunes really did. If you look at those old Looney Tunes cartoons,
yeah, I thought about grabbing my Looney Tunes cartoon collection, the Warner Brothers or the Warner Archive one, as my double feature, but that wouldn't really work because it's not a double feature. So I was like, I'll find something else, you know.
We can break rules sometimes.
They did
maybe
just put
short
they
plus
did
feature sort of thing, you know.
Yeah, they did just put out one of their Looney Tunes films. It's the one where Daffy Duck plays like a private detective. And it's just like a bunch of old Looney Tunes cartoons like stitched together around this like rubric narrative of Daffy Duck starting like he's a private eye now, like a Humphrey Bogart type character, and like all the cases are just like old Looney Tunes cartoons that they spliced together. That would have worked. But I'm shocked that Warner Archive is putting out so much Looney Tunes stuff right now, considering that their main brand that doesn't want anything to do with them. It's I don't know, maybe they just don't know. Like Warner Bros. Doesn't know what their underlings are doing, and they're just letting them get away with stuff. I don't know.
They don't need to do any more Space Jam movies. They just leave that alone. They can play another sport.
If they have more Devil's cameos in them, why not?
Yeah, I know.
You know?
Why or the Droogs from A Clockwork Orange just hanging out at a basketball game in the background, drinking milk.
You ready for a scalding hot take?
Yes.
I didn't think that movie was that bad. I thought it was like fine, you know.
Oh, the new Space Jam?
The new Space Jam. I thought it was like, I was like, is this what people are making a fuss about? Like, it's fine, I guess.
I like.
Well, I mean, here's a hotter take. The first one's not that great either.
Damn,
so
it's like pretty good, you know.
It's like
okay,
decent. But I grew up watching it. I loved it, and then I went back to try to watch it. And I was like, why did I like this?
Talk about something that drives nostalgia. That definitely probably drives like nostalgia driven. I mean, for a lot of us.
Like I mean, I'm not a super basketball fan, but like I knew Michael Jordan, and I was like, he's cool. But like, I loved the Looney Tunes at the time, and then I mean, I still like them. But you go back and watch the movie, and you're like, this is just so watered down compared to what you watch in the cartoon, like the shows. Like I'm like, it's just kind of neutered. I'm just like,
I do have that 4K because it was $10 one year.
I still need to get it because I don't own it at all. And I remember.
Well, you know what? Tell you what, Andrew. If you end up getting it and you need the slipcover, let me know. I'll send it to you.
Okay, whoa. I am a slipcover fiend.
I know you're a slipcover guy.
I am a slipcover guy.
I'm kind of actively breaking up with slipcovers. So you know what? You can.
Wow. You.
Jeez.
I don't know.
More. You hear this, guys?
That's the hottest take of the night.
More giving up slip. She's going to be selling some. That's what. Come on.
Yeah, that's
some
probably
of them go for a lot of
money.
Some
of them though, like I wouldn't want to get rid of this one. I like this one. It's pretty.
That is nice.
And,
those are nice.
It helps, you know. Yeah. But some of them, like even the OCN stuff, like the slipcovers are just kind of perfunctory, or they're just kind of there, or it's the same artwork underneath, and it's just kind of like, I don't need this. But if it's different artwork, if it's a nice slip, sure. But if it's just there to be there, I don't need it, you know.
Gotcha.
Then I can't. I'll tell you. Here's more blasphemy for the night. I don't know if you saw this, but my SpongeBob is sleeved. There's no case here.
Shoot.
So I can't
I didn't
do
even
that if
notice
I have a
that.
slipcover.
Oh my
So,
God.
There it is.
Oh
I save
God.
so much space, and moving was so much easier with all my studio stuff in this. It was crazy. It was so nice. I moved like 600 discs in like one box. It was crazy.
Yeah,
It
I'm
sounds very
seeing a
convenient.
lot of collectors getting tidy with their collections.
Mhm.
That's good. Good for them, man. I haven't gotten to that point yet.
It was a
one
lot of
day,
work. I'll tell you that.
I'm sure
Converting
it is.
it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I
I
couldn't
don't
imagine.
want. I don't want to do it. But
Steve, I remember when you moved, it looked quite
it was
cumbersome. Quite cumbersome.
and I lost a good man that day.
Oh no.
My I didn't lose it. It's still here, but I damaged one of my prized possessions. My Dawn of the Dead from Second Sight fell out of my hand, fell out of my hands and hit the concrete. So like I got it like nugged corner. It's like
The concrete.
hit.
You
Yeah,
said that. I just got stabbed in the heart.
it's rough. Yeah, so it's. Yeah, I've done some work on it to make it better, but it's still, I
Thing
just
is,
know.
out of every one, like that's probably one of the more.
That's the one that fell
ones.
out of my
It's
hand.
in the top 0.1% of the ones you don't want that to happen
to
to.
fall on the ground. Yes.
Yeah, I've said this a few times. Something like that. I love having those kind of more expensive out of print type stuff, but I'm afraid, like you, Stephen, to drop it anywhere because it's irreplaceable unless you want to spend exorbitant amounts of money to replace it.
We can't take it with us. I don't get too upset about it anymore. But
yeah, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is.
They're physical objects. They will meet with the earth in whatever means.
Exactly.
That the wind takes them, I guess, right?
You should know about that, Andrew. You're all about existentialism.
True.
All right. So please tell us your pairing with City of Hope.
Okay, so like I said, City of Hope is this kind of large ensemble piece of a movie where you have all of these different characters in this one, neighborhood type of location, and you see all the different plot lines, all the different characters, and how everything kind of meshes into one. So immediately while watching the movie, my mind went to
Crash.
Do the Right Thing. Not Crash. My mind doesn't go to that movie ever.
And I'm not talking about
it's like every day for me.
Not
the other one.
Yeah, the other one. Yeah,
I've always got the Cronenberg on the mind.
Yeah, I was thinking. Yeah, Steven is pulling out the. Who's the director of that? Is that Paul Haggis?
Paul Haggins. Yeah.
Yeah, it's Paul Haggis of that Crash, the infamous Crash, which is infamous winning Best Picture.
Infamous for being a really bad Best Picture winner. Yeah.
Well, while we're throwing out hot takes, when I saw it, I thought it was really good. So, like, I think I got to rewatch
at the time, I was a fan, and then like time came, and I was like, "Why did I like?" Once again, another like, "Why did I like this?"
I think I'm gonna. I don't know when. At some point, I want to watch all the Best Picture winners and rank them, and so I'll rewatch it then, and then that'll be. We'll see.
Yeah, that's a good list to make. I know people do it every year come Oscar time. That's always kind of a fun list to make, going back through all the Best Picture winners. Coincidentally, Do the Right Thing did not win Best Picture, but I still think it's probably one of my favorite films, ever. And I think it's one of the best movies of the last, 35, 40 years. Talk about a movie that doesn't seem to age really at all, or if anything, it ages very well because of what it's dealing with.
It's evergreen.
It's evergreen because it's similar to City of Hope. It's dealing with these incredibly prescient, incredibly contemporary themes that do not go away. We're talking like specifically with Do the Right Thing is very focused, obviously, on racial issues, cultural issues within a neighborhood. You have a wide-ranging cast of characters from different walks of life. Everybody from Danny Aiello, who's running the local pizza shop, to the local people just sitting on their stoops, and you've got people just walking in the middle of the street getting hassled for wearing Celtics jerseys and stuff like that in New York. You've got what's interesting about the connection between Do the Right Thing and City of Hope is that in City of Hope, John Sayles plays a character in it, and John Sayles is notorious for doing both acting and directing, not only in his films but in films in general. And in Do the Right Thing, Mookie is portrayed by Spike Lee, the delivery guy for Danny Aiello's pizza shop, and coincidentally, Spike Lee has done that throughout many films, typically his own. I don't think he's really been in other people's films, at least not off the top of my head. But he typically early on he was in a lot of his own films, or he cameos in his own films. And John Sayles has done that as well, and that's a nice, interesting kind of double connection there. But similar to City of Hope, you're dealing with all of these characters in a specific short amount of time. City of Hope takes place in like a day or two, pretty much, and Do the Right Thing takes place all entirely in one day. And it just so happens to be the hottest day of the year, or one of the hottest days of the year, and that's a metaphor for the powder keg of this neighborhood that is about to explode. And in City of Hope, there's not so much a powder keg in there as opposed to just like a lot of little insightful incidents that are going on, interplays within characters. The thing with City of Hope is it's very it's both focused in on characters, but it's also about like more larger macro type of ideas and themes. It's dealing with like local political corruption and corruption with police is a big thing in City of Hope as well. And in Do the Right Thing, everything is kind of like just small and underneath the surface and building up on a more local personal level. And yeah, both movies incredible screenplays, great acting, great ensemble casts. Do the Right Thing has been available, I think, on every format since it's come out in like 1989. I think it was probably on Laserdisc, VHS, DVDs. I know there was a Universal Blu-ray. There was, of course, this Criterion Blu-ray. There is a Universal 4K as well, which came out after this, which I don't think has the same extra features as this release here.
No,
That's
not
why
at
this
all.
is the one I recommend to people until, of course, Criterion
Looks great,
upgrades
too.
this. That's what I love about this movie, is that it also is aesthetically so brighter and light, because it takes
the
place mostly
transfer is
during the
great.
day. There's great graffiti art in it, like the buildings, the colors really pop, as opposed to City of Hope that is in like the dirty doldrums of like the concrete jungle of New Jersey. This is, I think, takes place in, I want to say
It's in New York
Brooklyn.
City,
Yeah,
right?
but
Yeah.
specifically neighborhood wise, it takes
Oh
place
yeah, but
in
neighborhood I'm not sure, but I think you're right.
probably Brooklyn.
Yeah, I think it's Brooklyn.
Yeah, that makes sense for Spike Lee. But as you can just see here, is that this cover really represents the kind of vibrancy of the movie, even though it's dealing with very heavy things, as opposed to City of Hope, which is a very kind of not monochromatic, but it looks very gray and dull and mute because you're dealing with a lot of those themes in that. But they're both really, really good, dealing with a lot of similar things. I've done, I think, a whole video on here on the channel just going through this release here, and the really great job that they did putting this together. Unfortunately, when it comes to the cardboard of Criterion releases, they do kind of bow and bend over time from just sitting on the shelf. From just sitting on the shelf. Like this is starting to open up down here, and I just literally leave this on the shelf. I never really move it around or anything, and it's starting to kind of open up on me. That's just something that I would add in if you're looking to get this in the future at a Barnes & Noble sale or flash sale or whatever.
You want a quick tip on where to get that?
Sure.
My copy is autographed by Spike Lee.
Wow.
Because he sells autographed Criterion editions on his 40 Acres and a Mule website. So I have that and Bamboozled autographed.
That I'm incredibly jealous of. I just bought Bamboozled, I think, in the last sale. That's so a movie
good.
that is.
I think it's better. That's another hot take, but
I would love to hear you talk about that, because I think it's different, yet dealing with a lot of same stuff as Do the Right Thing is, but he's being more forceful in Bamboozled.
His commentary on it is great. If you've not heard it.
One thing with Spike Lee is he's not really subtle when it comes to a lot of what he's trying to say. Especially the closer you get to more modern filmmaking, he just doesn't care about subtleties anymore. Like Black Klansman, what that movie's about from the beginning. Even like Chirac, it's literally in the title of the movie. We know what we're talking about here. Underrated movie, I think Chirac is. But that's my pairing, is Do the Right Thing.
A couple powerhouses there. Spike Lee, John Sayles. That's
a much less silly double feature than mine, huh?
SpongeBob.
Serious social issue films. We got We got kids in the bathtub and fucking SpongeBob SquarePants.
Yeah,
You know what?
no, you
That's
gotta
what we're
have.
about here. We're
It's
about the
about.
variety.
It's about.
Yeah,
It's a
it's all
balance,
about
guys.
the yin and the yang of art
Yeah.
and life, right?
Exactly. Well, I'll end us out on a even more existential note, I think here. So when I was thinking about a pairing here, I think there's a good amount of films about that delve into dreams and things like that and existential questions, and I wanted to stay in that realm, but I also wanted to have a little bit of a contrast because I wanted to pick a film to pair with it that maybe had some elements that I had some different elements that I didn't like about Waking Life, and had were things that I liked better in this other film that I was pairing it with. So what I did was I picked a film that I felt like still had some of the same themes, had an existentialness to it, but slowed things down and made things simpler, and actually to a point where there's almost no dialogue in the movie. Really, it's very quiet film. And that is a film by
School of Rock.
close David Lowery's A Ghost Story.
Ooh, I've been meaning to see this.
Oh, that's
Yes.
a good pick,
I've
Steven.
not seen
You
it.
like it as a pairing? You're the one that's seen it.
Talk about existential. Yeah.
So if you have not seen this, so we got Casey Affleck and you got Rooney Mara. They're a couple. They're in love, and they move into this house. And this isn't a spoiler. This is the setup of the movie. Casey Affleck has a car accident. He dies, and so then after death, we see him get into this sheet and become a ghost. And so the whole movie is him spending time as a ghost, kind of stuck. He's kind of stuck in this like in between, the afterlife and life, and he's kind of just hanging around, trying to figure out how to move on. And like I said, this could be a silent film. Really, there's almost no dialogue really that's that important.
I see a cat.
Oh, is he back there?
I got excited. I saw a cat.
Yeah, he's back there. He's about to take a shit or a piss. That's what he's about to do. So,
Classic cat.
Yeah, I know, classic cat cameo. But so, yeah, I mean, to me, this is a very interesting contrast, though very existential, but doesn't have to do it with so many words as Waking Life does. Waking Life spends its whole time talking and talking and talking, and somebody's saying something very intelligent and off the wall. In this movie is super existential, but in a very simple, quiet way. And even to the point of the filmmaking, where the filmmaking is at a tight aspect ratio. Like what is that, Andrew? 4:3? What is
Is it 133 to 1?
133, I think.
Is it a box?
Let's see. 178.
Oh, 178. That's widescreen.
Yeah. Well, no, let's see. It says 178, but it ain't a widescreen shot film. I mean, it's a widescreen presentation, but the film is shot in a smaller aspect ratio. It's like basically a square. So
oh yeah, it's 133 to 1. Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
So it's the old school full frame.
Yeah.
Like box.
Yeah. Box. Yeah. So it's down to this, Waking Life is this like very experimental, talky, abrasive visual style, and then you pair it with this film, and it's simple filmmaking, almost taking us back, and is a movie that is almost like a silent film, but it's dealing with the same thing. I tell you what, the first time I watched this film, I got super emotional about it. And I watched it again for this, but like I had to watch it with a kid in the room, so I couldn't really sit there and be in it. It's one of them movies that I think if you're as quiet, if the room you're in is as quiet as the movie is, it really sinks in. Like it really makes you feel the weight of everything, because that's the one thing is like in Waking Life, like there's this like element of like, because he's in a dream, he's trying to find a way out of this dream where it's kind of like fragmented, like you go between these different conversations and it's very fragmented. And the same thing happens in A Ghost Story, where as he spends more time in this house, he seems to lose track of time, and suddenly there's a new family living in this house, and then there's things happening that he just it just goes by so fast, and before you know it, the house is getting torn down and he's no longer got a place to be in anymore, and he doesn't know where his wife is, and it's just like it becomes like all out of his control, and it's like it's super emotional. It really is. It's a heavy movie, and unfortunately, people, of course, branded this movie the movie where you see Rooney Mara eat a pie for like 5 minutes straight, and that's the thing that people like to talk about in this movie. But it's like, watch the scene. It's like she's grieving, and she's like,
yeah,
it's like it's a hard movie for, like, I find it to be a very emotional movie to watch because it's just, it really you get bathed in it.
Yeah, it's a movie very much about the melancholy of time passage and the melancholy of life passage, and how fleeting things are and how quickly things move by, which has always been something that I've harped on tremendously. We talked about time earlier, and it's like how fast it moves. Like literally, 4 years of Chasing Labels has gone by, and it hasn't felt like 4 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've known Steven now for almost a decade. It hasn't felt like a decade. You know what I mean? So you don't feel these things until you actually sit and think about them happening.
Yeah.
I hit the third year anniversary of my channel the other day, and I was like, damn, I've really been at this shit 3 years. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like we've known Celeste now for several years. Like I can't like fully wrap my head around that because I feel like I just met Celeste like yesterday. But it's been years.
I still feel like I'm in year 1 of this venture, and it's like, nope.
Yeah, like I'm still acting like it's year 1. You know what I mean? I'm still acting like that. And it's like, no, it's not really. So yeah, that movie A Ghost Story, I remember when it came out. When did that come out, Steve? Like
2017.
17, yeah. And that's an A24 film, if I remember.
Yes.
So for those of you,
it's one of their early ones.
Yeah.
At least in their art house horror kind of
event. It's when they started like being like people kind of had them kind of pegged as more of a horror distribution company. Yeah. Which I guess they still kind of are if you think about it.
And the thing is this is not really a horror movie. I guess
that's the kick of it. Is I bet you people were expecting it to be like a haunted movie.
There's like a couple scenes that you could somewhat put in that genre, but it's not. It's really a drama. It's a melancholic, like kind of. To an extent, it's a depressing movie, but there's like a certain amount of like. I would say hope to it that I think it underlies all the sadness. Because it's like there's something about it that feels like relatable, something that we feel but we can't explain, that's ethereal about the film that I love. Like it's just it was one of my favorite films that year. So and the more I watch it, the more it's just an all-time favorite for me. So I was happy to be able to find a reason to put this as a pairing because it's a good one. So, yeah, that is it. That is it for this Unwatched Pile.
Speaking of, I double checked. I went through my guest appearances playlist. This is my 4th appearance on this program. 4th appearance.
Wow.
Wow.
I started on episode 3, and I did Black Is, Black Ain't from the Marlon Riggs set.
Okay.
Then Kiss of the Vampire. Then Black Narcissus. And then this.
Nice.
I completely forgot about the time you went through the Marlon Riggs.
I did too. Yeah.
All right. Well, Celeste, as always, it's been a joy having you on. Please tell us where people can find you to reach out to you, and if you got anything coming up that you wanna plug.
Celeste de la Cabra on YouTube, Letterboxd, TikTok, Instagram. Check it out. Actually, I'm in Human Ecstasy on Letterboxd. That's the actual handle, but you'll still find me if you search my name, I think. I'll be doing part 2 of my fundraiser stream for my cat on Sunday because
Cool.
she had some emergency medical bills that set me back quite a bit. And the first one was really successful. And so I'm going to be doing streams every Sunday going forward, but this is probably the last one that's going to be explicitly like a fundraiser, just because she's got her next appointment tomorrow, and it'll be less expensive, but it'll be more money. So there's that. So yeah, come hang out on Sunday, celebrate cats. We're doing my Letterboxd catch up for 2025. Probably going to go through February. Yeah, I think that's all I got in terms of plugs, because I don't want to commit to any videos I'm working on because of the whole thing.
I understand that. I understand. Hey, I've had a few instances where I said, I'm going to do this. And then just like the project I'm working on now, I was going to do it. And then it didn't happen for a minute. So, you should probably wait until you're like, for sure, something's going to happen. And then,
tell you what, I saw Magazine Dreams last night in the theater. I'm seeing Black Bag tomorrow morning. So
nice.
The short reviews for those will be up at some point.
There you go.
You can say that.
Something to look forward to. All right, my people. Andrew is over, of course, doing his Chasing Labels duties. Please come over to the channel.
We will be back next week to do Chasing Labels, I think episode 161? I believe it will be spy number 161. It will be right before the Vinegar Syndrome drop, which is that Tuesday, so that won't be included.
Yeah.
So I won't have to strain myself to watch all those movies.
That.
The calendar worked out for me this time.
Since you said call it spine numbers, do you look up what Criterion number it is each episode? Because that could be a fun way to start.
It would be fun. He half commits to it though. He won't. He says.
I say it every time. I say both episode and spine.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, commit to the goddamn spine number.
I think spine you should at the beginning be like, this corresponds to this film. We could talk about.
You know what? That's a great idea, because I don't even know what
the thing is. You could do it with a lot. Some of these, like I think Arrow does spine numbers, but
a lot of labels do spines. Yeah,
but they don't advertise it as
less
much.
informal.
Yeah. So you can change it up every once in a while.
Indicator is the one that does like actual spine numbers.
Yeah.
Kino Cult does actual spine numbers. Vinegar Syndrome doesn't, but they have like the VS whatever number. Yeah. So you can keep track of it that way too.
Yeah, you can change it up every once in a while, man.
Could be a fun.
I'm gonna find out.
Fun little thing.
I forget where to go to look at all the spine numbers. I think they're on their website, obviously.
It's on their website, yeah.
Yeah, they have. I think they have them all listed out. 161 is very early on. I'm not gonna look it up now.
Don't spoil it. You can use it,
yeah, no, don't. I should look up 160 then, because that was the most recent one. Of course, these are not in order.
All right, well, we're gonna move on.
Yeah, move on.
But yeah, please go over and subscribe to Chasing Labels, of course, and watch out for the Chasing Labels Prime show every other week. Every once in a while I get some reviews out for some Blu-rays. This show, of course, is monthly. I can tease this somewhat. We got hopefully a very special interview next month, so look out for that. That's something will be hopefully coming in the works here. I'm just waiting on the confirmation on this interview. And
is it a filmmaker or is it an industry person? Can you say? Can you give a hint in that respect?
It is a filmmaker.
Ooh.
So,
all right, Christopher Nolan on the pod. Confirmed.
You said it, I didn't.
I just
from the set of the Odyssey. You have Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
God, that would be awesome.
Live from the Coliseum.
We would quit. That would be it. We'd be like, we don't need to do this anymore.
We've achieved greatness. Achieved greatness.
But please do all that. Please keep back looking at the channel. And that's it for this episode of the Unwatched Pile. So this is the time when you get the hell out of here and you go watch some stuff. Please.
Go watch a movie. God's Pee.
Yeah, please go watch some SpongeBob. Okay, please
go watch SpongeBob. Hell yeah!
Just watch SpongeBob, people.
Mm-hmm.
See you.